The last 3 weeks, I shot Ghats in Varanasi, took this to New York, and then came here to a place called Niti Valley, which is around 10,000 feet above sea level. And people are running marathon here. And never did I think, and when I say this, I mean every word of it, that I would be standing somewhere holding a Vivo phone and telling you guys that it smokes the iPhone camera completely. So let me tell you the Vivo story. I was in school when Vivo entered India, and there was this general understanding that it was a brand for people who couldn't afford anything better. And there were so many options back then. In fact, STC used to be my first phone. Vivo in India at that time was just focused on making budget selfie phones, and their ads also tells you the same. I don't know what was that, but it seems like the whole point of having the front camera on Vivo was to make your face look better, even if that means whitewashing your face completely. Sorry Marcus. The Chinese brand in India at that time had a perception issue. But what's happened since then is one of the most interesting brand stories in tech, because Vivo didn't just gradually improve, they reinvented what they were making, and right now we are sitting with this monster that also comes with a gigantic price tag. But is it worth the price? The camera module on this thing is so large that when I first saw it in renders, I thought it was an exaggerated product photo. It is not. It can fit a phone right next to it. So what does this camera bump actually has? But before that, let me tell you what do you get inside the box. You get the phone, a case, a camera strap, and depending on which kit you buy, you get either the 200mm or 400mm external telephoto lens. I'll get to those later, but first let me tell you how this phone smokes the iPhone completely. You have two photos here, one is shot on 17 Pro and the other on X300 Ultra. The X300 Ultra looks like it is 2-3 generation ahead of iPhone. So how is this actually happening? The secret lies in that camera bump. The sensor on the iPhone 17 Pro is 1/1.28. On the S26 Ultra, it's 1/1.30. But on the X300 Ultra, it's 1/1.2. And this is why the X300 Ultra is very different from all other phones in the market. Now the thing is, these devices, they're competing on the same physics, but for Vivo, it gets an advantage, which is the sensor size. See, sensor size is one of the most important things that actually determines how good a camera system would work out. Now, a bigger sensor means more light coming in, which means a better dynamic range capability and better low light capability. Basically all the things that makes a great photo from a phone photo. Now everything else that I'm about to show you in this video, the color, the sharpness, the picture profile, the low light capability, everything is possible due to this sensor size. So most flagship phones default to a 24mm main sensor. Samsung does it, Apple does it. It just makes more sense, and it has been the industry standard. You know, it's wide, it captures a lot of scene, but for Vivo, it made a change. And that change was that it did not use that 24, instead went for a 35mm. And I'll be honest, when I got this phone, I was a bit skeptical because I thought 35 would feel a bit cramped. But oh boy, I was so wrong. I've been loving the photos that come out of this 35mm lens. And I'll tell you the reason behind it. 35mm is a street photographer's lens. It's the same lens that Fujifilm X100 series ships with, a camera which is very hard to get your hands on because it's mostly out of stock. And there's a reason for that. At 35mm, your faces don't distort the way they do at 24mm. You can shoot a portrait without the nose looking like it's coming at you, but it's still wide enough for a room, a street, or a moment. I feel it's the most human focal length, and whosoever took that decision at Vivo must come from a photography background. What makes it stand out is that you have been given options to reduce the sharpness and play with color profile, and unlike many other phones, in this one, it actually works. In the camera app, you can create your own film presets, adjust tone, warmth, color palette, film grain, even reduce sharpness to make images look less digital. So ultra-wide cameras on the phone are almost universally the weakest link. But the ultra-wide on this phone is one of the very few ultra-wide that has not disappointed me. It's a 50 megapixel Sony sensor with a 14mm equivalent that comes with OIS. An actual OIS that makes sound when you shake it. And I'll tell you why I'm going crazy over this device. Look at these two photos. And then look at the difference. The Vivo has at least 2-3 stops of more light. The photo is sharp, you have much more details in shadows. It just doesn't beat iPhone, it obliterates it. And it's just not limited to low light photos. The ultra-wide shines everywhere. The phone also lets you shoot in RAW, so if you are a fan of editing, you get around 12 to 14 stops of dynamic range. When it comes to telephoto, the X300 Ultra has two 200 megapixel sensors, one for the main camera, one for the telephoto, which is a periscope design inside the phone. And then optionally, you can attach these external lenses as well. But what does this periscope design actually mean? Welcome to Grounded 101, where I decode the jargons that nobody explained. Take a zoom lens on a regular camera. The glass elements are arranged in a straight line. Light comes in from the front, travels through the barrel, hits the sensor at the back. It's as simple as that. This is why a telephoto lens on a DSLR looks like a telescope. Now try fitting the same inside a phone which is 8 to 10 millimeter thick. There's just not enough room. So what do you do then? You bend the light. A periscope lens put a tiny prism right behind the glass. Light comes in from the back of the phone, immediately turns 90 degrees, just like looking through a periscope on a submarine. And now the optical path runs horizontally through the phone's body instead of straight through it. And suddenly you have the lens that you needed, that too inside the phone itself. At 200 mm optical with the lens attached, the details are startling. During the marathon, I pointed this at a group of runners, maybe 300 to 400 meters away, and it just didn't feel like a phone, it felt like a camera. The stabilisation is genuinely impressive too. Previous Ultra phones had shaking problem with the telephoto. This one doesn't. You can handheld at 200 mm and get usable shots. I'm not saying it's effortless, you still need to be deliberate, but now it's no longer a battle. However, it's not all good. There is a trade-off. The periscope telephoto lens closes down on that aperture for a better stabilization. And in lower light, noise reduction gets aggressive. Shooting at dusk in the valley, telephoto shots had a softness to them in the same conditions. If you're shooting in low light with the telephoto, shoot RAW. But the bigger question is, how is the video and how does it pan against an iPhone? The X300 Ultra shoots 4K at up to 60 FPS on all the lenses. On the ultra-wide and main, you can get up to 4K 120. Pro video mode, you can shoot 10-bit log, the kind of footage you bring into DaVinci Resolve and grade properly. However, I did not like the UI of Pro Video app. It just felt like I was playing with a kid's toy. All these footages were shot in log and graded in post. The video quality is better than Samsung's log. The stabilization in video is also genuinely good. The electronic stabilization keeps things logged without that over-stabilized floaty look that Samsung sometimes gives you. It feels more like a natural camera movement. But when it comes to auto mode, I found it a bit unreliable. In the video section, the iPhone is generally more reliable. Just see these videos, there's just too much of processing going on. And same goes with the front camera as well. See these two videos, one is taken on Vivo X300 Ultra and the other one on the iPhone 17 Pro. The video on the Vivo struggles with lighting. To expose face, it just brightens up everything. And you can see that in the mountains, whereas the iPhone keeps it balanced. A phone that is fundamentally selling itself as a camera phone, there is no dedicated camera button, which is, I don't know what they were thinking. Although if you get the lens, it comes with a hand grip that you can use. However, there is no thumb grip, and coming from a camera, the grip feels a bit incomplete. Since we are talking about the cameras, let me answer the favorite question that people have over the internet. Can it actually replace your camera? The answer is not simple. Why do people ask that question? Following are the photos taken on a Sony a7 IV and Vivo X300 Ultra. It's quite close, but can it replace an actual camera? For amateurs, sure. For professionals, nah. For performance, this has the same chip that is inside the S26 Ultra, which is the Snapdragon Gen 5. And honestly, in 2026, it's hard to find a flagship which is slow. In day-to-day use, this phone is fast, apps open instantly, the camera app launches without lag, and even shooting 4K log while monitoring the preview doesn't cause the system to break a sweat. Also, the screen brightness, it's 4500 nits, nearly double that of S26 Ultra, and it has an actual 10-bit display. Also, if you're planning to buy an S26 Ultra, I've made a video here, just go and have a watch. The X300 Ultra has a 6000 mAh battery with 100 watt wired charging. everything. So in normal use, calls, browsing internet, playing games here and there and taking some photographs, this would easily last you a day. Where it gets interesting is the camera use. If you're shooting 4K long all day, which is exactly what I was doing, the battery drains faster than you would expect. In Niti, by the afternoon, because I was shooting a lot, I was reaching for my power bank. But it is an extreme condition. 100-watt charging gets you from dead to full in around 35 minutes, and this actually makes difference because you can charge it over a lunch or a breakfast and you don't have to wait specifically for the phone to get charged. Wireless charging works but requires deliberate placement because of the camera bump, and I'll agree that it is a minor daily annoyance. The phone is large, not unusually by 2026 flagship standard. One-handed use is bit difficult. The camera module is genuinely physically enormous. The bump adds noticeable thickness and weight to the top half of the phone. In a jeans pocket, it sits awkwardly and you will notice that. But see, the thing is, every time I took this phone to take a photo, it produced something that justified that bump. However, one thing that has personally bugged me is the weight distribution on this phone. The camera bump is situated on the upper part of the phone, which makes it top heavy. So whenever you are using the phone, it just feels like it will turn over and topple. It takes some time to get used to it. So after all of this, let's actually address the thing that I said in the beginning. Does this phone actually beats the iPhone camera? On stills in good light with the main sensor, the Vivo wins on details and color accuracy. The 35 lens choice means portrait looks like portraits and less like wide-angle smartphone portraits. But for video, it's not that simple. iPhone's video processing pipeline is mature, consistent, and optimized for people who just press record and don't think about it. The X300 Ultra's video is technically more capable. It's just that you need to know what you're doing with that footage. If you want the best point and shoot video experience, the iPhone is still better. If you want a feeling of what a phone camera can produce and you're willing to put in that work, I think you should just get the Vivo X300 Ultra. See, for most people watching this video, it's not a phone that you impulse buy. It's a phone that you decide on. And it's competing with the iPhone 17 Pro, which many people will buy simply because it's an iPhone, and this ecosystem follows them everywhere. The Vivo at this moment doesn't have that gravity. You're choosing it purely for what it does. And so the question I would leave you with is not that if it's better than iPhone, but are you kind of person who would even notice the difference? So like every time, stay curious, stay grounded, and I'll see you in the next one.